All right, let's jump right in. We're about to take a look at something that shapes every single one of our lives, but we hardly ever stop to think about how it's designed. We're talking about the architecture of age. Have you ever felt like you're on a schedule that you never actually set? You start school at 5, you're supposed to have a career by 25, retire at 65. It's kind of like we're all following this hidden blueprint. So, the big question is, why? Why are our lives run by this invisible clock? To get to the bottom of this, we're not just going to read from a textbook. We're actually going on a tour. Think of it like this. We're going to explore a massive, metaphorical city, a whole social structure built entirely on the foundation of age. So, welcome to the city. In this first part of our tour, we're going to look at the master plan, the theory that explains how our society is so fundamentally ordered by age. Okay, the core idea we're digging into is called age stratification theory. Basically, it's the concept that society sorts all of us into different layers, almost like floors in a skyscraper, based purely on how old we are. And each of these floors comes with its own set of rules, its own roles, and its own rewards. And this isn't about biology, it's all about social design. Of course, every city has its architects, right? The visionaries who drafted the very first blueprints. So let's meet the key thinkers who really laid the groundwork for this whole concept. You can see how these ideas really build on each other. So you have Matilda Riley. She was the master planner who first said, hey, age is just as important as class or race. Then Carl Mannheim came along and added the idea of generations, these groups of people who share a unique outlook because they were born at the same time. And finally, Glenn H. Elder Jr. brought history into the mix, showing that when you live your life is just as crucial as how old you are. Okay, so we've met the architects. Now let's look at the city's rules and regulations. The zoning laws that basically dictate what you can do and when, all based on your age. First up, we've got age grades. The easiest way to think about these is like the city's distinct districts. You've got the school district for the young, the business district for adults, and then the retirement communities for the elderly. Society formally creates these stages and attaches very specific expectations to each one. And here's the thing. We don't move through these districts alone. We travel in what are called cohorts. A cohort is basically your graduating class, but on a massive societal scale. It's everyone born around the same time who lives through the same major historical events together, which shapes your collective identity as you journey through the city. And this is a brilliant way to picture how we move through the city. It's like we're placed on a series of conveyor belts. First, the school belt is fast and pretty much the same for everybody. Then you hop onto the work belt, which suddenly speeds up and splits into 1,000 different tracks. And finally, you get to the retirement belt, where everything just slows right down. So, enough with the abstract blueprints, right? Let's get down to the real world. It's time to take a walk down the city streets and see these zoning laws in action all around us. Here is a perfect everyday example, the number 18. It's not a magic number, but society has decided that it's the key that unlocks a major gate, the gate to civic participation. This is an institutionalized age grade in its purest form. And here's another one, 65. For decades, this single number has signaled the end of the work belt and the beginning of the retirement belt for millions of people, opening the gate to pensions and a completely different social role. This shows you the real power of cohorts. Baby boomers came of age during a massive economic expansion, and that shaped their opportunities and their whole outlook on life. Millennials, on the other hand, entered the workforce during a period of digital chaos and economic recession. Same city, but they experienced it at completely different moments in history, and that changed everything for them. Now, what's crucial to understand is that this city isn't static. It's not set in stone. Its map is constantly being redrawn. The architect's original plans, they're always being updated to reflect a changing world. Even the theory itself has evolved over time. It started back in the 60s with the basic blueprint. By the 80s, history and timing were added to the map. And today, the renovations are all about complexity. How age intersects with things like race, gender, and our totally globalized world. Of course, no city plan is perfect, and critics have pointed out some major potholes. For one, the theory can sometimes downplay our own individual choices, making us seem more like puppets of the system. It also risks hiding the massive diversity within any given age group, especially as modern life becomes way less predictable than the old map suggests. And you can really see that shift right here. The old straight road of life, school, job, marriage, retirement,
boom, 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 is being replaced by this whole network of winding paths. People are delaying big life events, staying in school longer. This is all driven by everything from the economy to just changing cultural norms about what a successful life even looks like. So, after our whole tour, we have to ask the big question. Why does understanding the city's architecture actually matter? Well, it matters for two huge reasons: how we plan our society as a whole and how each of us navigates our own lives within it. Understanding this blueprint forces us to ask a really critical question for the future. Now that we know we've built a city based on age, how can we redesign it? How do we make it more equitable, more flexible, and more fair for everyone, no matter how old they are? This theory, it gives us a really powerful toolkit. It helps governments design smarter policies for things like pensions and education. It helps us make sense of conflicts between generations over resources. And on a personal level, it helps us see how the timing of our lives, when we were born, when we hit certain milestones, profoundly shapes the opportunities we get. Ultimately, our entire tour, everything we've talked about, it all comes down to this one powerful idea. Age stratification theory treats age as a central organizing principle of society. Age isn't just a number, it's the invisible street grid that directs the flow of all of our lives. So we'll leave you with this final thought. We've seen the architecture, we've seen the zoning laws, the conveyor belts. We know that your age shapes your world, your opportunities, and your role within it. The real question is, should it?